Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Woodstock, Georgia, it's time for Cherokee Business Radio. Now, here's your host.
Welcome to Cherokee Business Radio. Stone Payton here with you this morning, and you guys are in for such a treat. Today's episode brought to you in part by Alma Coffee, sustainably grown, veteran-owned, and direct trade, which means, of course, from seed to cup, there are no middlemen. Please go check them out at myalmacoffee.com and go visit their roastery cafe at 3448 Holly Springs Parkway in Canton. Ask for Leticia or Harry and tell them that Stone sent you. Also, before we came on the air today, we decided that today's episode was also brought to you in part by Alpha and Omega Automotive. I just came from there, and of course, the staff was great. Dropped the car off, got home, and by the time I got to the studio, I was sharing with one of our guests today, Justin Kier, who we're going to visit with in a moment. I had an estimate. I could check it off, whether I wanted to do the whole thing or if I needed to call them. And I mean, it's done. It's off my plate. And now we get to have fun. So we're double sponsored, double blessed this morning. So thank you to the Kennedys over there at Alpha and Omega, and also our other guests with Visually Sold. That's why we got a chance to get connected, right? Because Lori Kennedy and that crowd got us here, and so we'll get a chance to visit with Alex and Evan here in a little bit. But first up, on Cherokee Business Radio, please join me in welcoming to the broadcast with Atlanta Challenge, Mr. Justin Kier. How are you, man?
Doing great. I've been looking forward to this.
So have I, among other marvelous discoveries here, now that I live in the Woodstock community, is this group, the Woodstock Business Club. So I find myself going down there on Thursday mornings, and it's like a 4-minute walk from my home now.
Right.
And a couple of Thursdays ago, 2 or 3 Thursdays ago, there's this really dynamic presenter talking about way things have been shifting in his world, how they've shifted for all of us, and talking about this thing, Atlanta Challenge.
Yep.
So tell us a little bit about it. Mission, purpose. What are you guys out there trying to do for folks?
So Atlanta Challenge has actually been around for a long time. It's been around for 17, 18 years now in the Southeast.
Oh, wow.
And its original roots came out of the traditional team building style. So it was field games and ropes courses and all that. And that was a little bit before my time. But over the years, and I got involved with them about 4 years ago, maybe a little bit longer now, our job is just to make teams more effective. That's it. Teams and leaders, getting them more effective. And we get to do that with a lot of different folks. So we have a lot of fun with it, but that's it. And we do things a little bit different because we've understood over the years the effect that having a good work life has on the rest of your life, and how having a good rest of your life has an effect on your work life. And I think people, years ago thought of those as more segmented, that it was one or the other, and you could go to work and come home and just shut everything else off. And that has changed over the years. And so people just have a life, and work is in there and family's in there, and all of it is in there together. And it's not quite as segmented as it used to be. So
it strikes me that teams, maybe very much like the car I took in this morning, without some maintenance, without some tune-ups, without some attention, things can fall off the rails with virtually any team, even if it started out really strong and cohesive. Is that accurate?
Oh, very much so. And it's funny though, we tend to work with good teams, not bad teams, which is also kind of odd. Like, people are kind of surprised by that sometimes, but I like to think of us as more swim coaches than lifeguards. And so we are not the ones.
What a great way to frame it. I love that.
And we're not the ones just coming in to save a dumpster fire of an organization that is just flailing around, usually because they're in such bad shape they don't even know they need us. So if you put a scale of 1 to 10, it's rare for us to work with 3s and 4s. We tend to work with the 7s and 8s that want to get to 9s and 10s. And so we're working with teams that already have some things that they're doing well, or aspects of it. They have leaders that see a direction, they want to get everybody going there, or they have a new leader that comes into a situation, they're trying to get everybody on board. But it's those types of teams that we tend to spend the most time working with, is the ones that there are a lot of good things here, but you can be better. And when we hear that phrase from people, our eyes light up and we just know, okay, yeah, we're going to get along well.
Are there some patterns to look for? In my organization, I have this studio, and I'm sort of an individual proprietor in this studio, but I'm also part of a larger team, the Business RadioX network, and we have studio partners around the country, and I'm blessed to be part of that team as well. As a leader of that type of team, are there some signs to look for? Are there some signals that, hey, maybe we ought to start thinking about getting a little bit of some fresh perspective in here? Are there some patterns to look for?
Yeah, definitely. And one of those initial ones is when you find yourself just going back to the same old thing over and over again, no matter what situation or problem pops up, because there are always some good things that you do that have worked in the past. And then you get to a point and you try it on something and it doesn't work like it used to. Or it's a new situation. And you're like, but this worked either 5 years ago, or this worked in a year ago, but it was a completely different situation. So when you start going back to the same old tricks, in a sense, it's always good to have, there are some tried and true principles, of course, but having a fresh perspective, that's what lets us do what we do. And I tell people too, I would be a really bad CEO. I would. I don't do a really good job at wrangling all of those things together, but I'm a really good coach because I see the things that CEOs don't see, or I see the things that team leaders don't see, because you get so caught in your own world that seeing things from an outside perspective or an outside industry. I was talking to someone not too long ago, and they were talking about how they get coaching within their industry. And so they go to masterminds and they get coaches and all this about how to build a better, it wasn't this, but I'll use this as an example, dentist office. So they have a dentist office and they just want to have a better dentist office. So they go talk to other dentists and they go to dentist conferences and they get some great ideas. And then we have conversations and it's, well, what about this? And they'd never heard of it because dentists don't talk about that. And so it's just, that's where we get to bring in our special sauce when we work with teams and leaders, is seeing the things that you guys don't see because you're so involved in your own world, which is natural. And it's good to look for other dentist offices that are going to make your dentist office better. But getting that outside perspective is always a good thing.
So what do you enjoy the most about the work? What do you find the most rewarding?
Oh man. So some of that goes back to my history, even before getting into what I do now. And my background before getting into leadership coaching was actually in the fitness world. So I taught school for several years. I will never do that again, but I taught school for several years. Middle school health and PE was not the career choice for me, but went from that into fitness and did one-on-one training and ran a boot camp and managed a CrossFit gym and had my own personal training business and all that. My. But what got me from that into this was my enjoyment of seeing people just get better. And I realized even with the fitness stuff that, well, yes, it's great to get slightly bigger biceps or see a little weight off your waist or whatever. Oh, that's great. But it was people walking out with a different level of confidence. It was people walking out and their relationship with their spouse changed because they'd been working out. And so for me, it was, I want that, but without the sweatiness of, and I like to sweat because I still like to work out, but just, I was done having people do burpees and push-ups and squats all day long. Not that that's not a great and noble thing, but it was just, there's something next. What's next? And so for me, that's what it was, is I want to be working with people where I can really see a difference in their lives. And that's what we get to do. And it's just those ripple effects. If, help somebody in their, think a little bit clearer or be a little bit less stressed or a little bit less fearful in their life. And then that affects their work, which then affects when they go home and deal with their spouse and their kids, because they're not quite as stressed and fearful. And so it's those ripple effects of, having people tell me things that, hey, my life has never been better. And work is a part of that. Our team dynamic is a part of that, but it's everything. And so seeing those ripple effects in people's lives, it started way back in the day with the fitness side. And I get to do the same thing now, but just in a slightly different environment and one that has bigger ripples. Because when you affect the team dynamic of people's work, that affects everything. I think anybody that's had a challenging and stressful job over the years knows what it's like to go home and try to let some of that go. And it is not easy. So being able to affect that work life, which is where so many people spend most of their time, it has some of the biggest ripples.
Well, I bet that is remarkably satisfying as a career, as your work. The early part of an engagement, is that where the hill is super steep? Like, don't you, at least initially, aren't you trying to help people that may not even be sure they want the help? Like maybe their leaders say, we're going to do this thing. Do you ever run into some of that initial kind of resistance or apathy or?
We do a little bit. But at the same time, that's one of the things that we screen for at the beginning, because that's one of the things that we don't want in place if you are going to work with us. For someone to be coached, they have to be willing to be coached.
Right.
And so there's even, at the beginning of an engagement, we do a lot of, in a sense, consultations back and forth of making sure it's the best fit for us and for you. Because the last thing that we want is to be working with people that don't want us working with you, or people that are just completely checked out and unresponsive and unwilling to look inside and look at themselves a little bit and look at things they may need to do differently. And so that's one of the first things that we look for is people that are open and turned on.
Right. Well, no, the person you're describing, not only might that person not grow or benefit at all, but they might impact someone else that could really benefit. But if you've got that kind of sour apple in there, right? For
sure. And obviously there are situations where sometimes we get into working with a team and there are a couple people on the team that are less responsive than others. And that comes with the territory.
That's just that's why you need a pro. That's why you don't pull Stone in there and I'm trying to be funny or make jokes or something. You need a professional facilitator that has some, is there some, I know the answer to this is yes. So what I really want to know is tell me a little bit about, to the degree you're willing to, there's got to be some structure, some discipline, some rigor. It might look like all fun and games, but you've got this process map in your head when you're working with a group, right?
We do. We're not just winging it when we walk in.
Right.
But at the same time, part of what we strive for is helping keep things simple for what people need to do moving forward. Okay. And so we may have a giant tool belt in a sense of all the different strategies and structures and different things we can give you and processes and all that. And part of our job is figuring out which one is going to help the most and which things we need to address that are going to affect your leadership the most. And because we see that happen with, sometimes we'll come in and work with people who have done, their company has done like a 360 assessment for all their executives or leaders. And so they even show us sometimes we've got a big folder here of all these 37 things that we need to do to get better. And, because and our job is to help narrow that to 2 or 1. It's what is the one thing that we can do moving forward over the next 30 days or 60 days or 90 days, whatever it is. Let's focus on that thing and let's beat that thing like a drum for the next 90 days and fix that. Because a lot of times, again, I mentioned ripple effects earlier. You can sometimes fix just 1 or 2 things and it has a massive ripple effect on the entire organization. And you don't need to go in and do this giant process of things that people don't really need. And so we definitely have a process, and it's definitely not, it takes a level of courage to step up and go through the process. But part of our job is keeping it simple because everybody has too much on their plate. Everybody has a lot going on. We talk to some people that get 1,000 emails a day in there and just and people in the studio here are shaking their head like, I can't even imagine. And so the last thing we want is to throw another bunch of stuff on your plate. We want to help either take things off. And sometimes that's what we spend a lot of time on. That's some of our biggest processes that we take people through is how can you delegate a little bit more? How can you time block a little bit better? And you might be surprised, but some of the executives that we see are really good at what they do. But some of the, keeping track of your schedule and delegating and some of those, what they kind of think are simple things are the things that we can come in and help with the most just to help get things off your plate. What does that look like? And so the process is definitely there, but our job is to keep that as simple as possible.
But there's some real discovery. You have to be comfortable, I would think, and with some degree of chaos, and you've got to meander around a little bit because what's going to help Evan and Alex may not be at all what Lee Cantor and I need for our business, right? The process is going to get us there, but we may be working on completely different things.
Absolutely. And Well, yes and no. So there's aspects to it. This is one thing I've seen over the years of working with teams from all different industries and all different sizes, because we work with everything from, small businesses with a dozen employees that are trying to move forward all the way to the biggest names in Atlanta, and Delta and Home Depot and Cox and all Chick-fil-A, and you name it. We've worked with the big companies too. Teams are teams and people are people. And so what teams struggle with and deal with, it's all the same stuff. It's all because people are people. Now, where it differs is people are all a little bit different. And so the way they think, the way they approach situations, what drives them, what wakes them up in the morning and, keeps them up at night, all those vary a little bit. So that's part of what we get to do too, is when we look at a team, it's what are the people like on this team? What are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? What do they struggle with? What do they not? How can you look at someone else that has a completely different skill set from you and value that and see what they bring to the table? And that's part of what makes a team work. But that's where the challenge comes in for people is understanding that person over there who maybe we've butted heads a lot in the past, it's not because we don't like each other. It's because we have different ways of thinking. We have different styles. We have different personalities. But when you can understand that what they do helps what you do get to the goal, whatever output you're trying to achieve, that's where people really come alive. Because I tell people, one example I give people is one of the things I hate more than anything in the world is accounting. I hate it with a passion. I mean, if you put me in front of a computer with a spreadsheet and say, just sit here 8 hours a day or 10 hours a day or whatever it is for the rest of your life, I would go crazy. But one of the things I love more than anything else in the world are accountants. Because they do it. And they like it and they're good at it. And it's just, so it's, while there's differences between how we approach things and, maybe our personalities and our style and all that, but I can appreciate the heck out of them because I can go up to them and they do something that I don't do well and they enjoy it. And when teams start seeing that, oh yeah, this person that I've been butting heads with, they actually do something that I don't like to do and they're good at it and they provide something to this team that's valuable. That's where people really start to come alive.
So how does the whole sales and marketing thing work for a firm like yours? I got to believe if you're talking to a CEO, someone, or even a team who makes this kind of decision, do we engage these Atlanta Challenge folks? I got to believe if they have this kind of conversation with you, you probably get to work. But how do you get to have this kind of conversation? Or have you just been at it long enough that the phone rings, or how does that piece work?
I'm a little bit of both. But it's changed a little bit even over the last 2 years, I guess. When we first started building Atlanta Challenge, it was some word of mouth, and because we were one of the few ones in the area, but everything from Google ads to pay-per-click, and people would find us. And we did a really good job with our website of SEO and things like that, of getting people to find us. Over the past couple of years, especially, we've made a little bit of a shift to where it's less of the fun and games and the ropes courses and the big, let's go play with, foam pool noodles on a field somewhere. And it's more of this, it's more of the in-depth conversations. And so it tends to be more, it's a lot of word of mouth. It's a lot of referrals. We have worked with so many companies in the past that we have a lot of really good connections and relationships with those companies too. So when we reach out to somebody and we talk with them, and that's part of what I get to do. And it's even coming on a show like this is helping get the word out. And in some respects, I consider myself the Atlanta Challenge evangelist of just letting people know about what we do, because it has to resonate with people when they start having those conversations with us. And yeah, if we get to this conversation, it tends to be either very quickly one way or the other. It's either, nope, this isn't a good fit, or yes, let's talk more. Because when we have initial conversations with people, the last thing I try to do is sell somebody something they don't want, or get them to sign up for a coaching engagement that they don't want and don't need, or get them to do an event that doesn't really fit what their team is looking for. And so it's really having those kind of exploratory conversations of, what are you looking to get out of this? What's a win for you? If we came in and did this workshop or strategic work session or an event or something like that, when we leave and people are, writing on their little cards the reviews of the session, what's a win for you? What does it look like when we do our job and do it well? And then once we start hearing that, it's, okay, now we can start playing with it a little bit and, plugging in the pieces of this would work well and this would fit and this wouldn't work and you don't need to waste your time with this. And so it's having some of those conversations. But yeah, it's a different business because it's not just the type of business where you run a bunch of ads and get the phone to ring and that's it. So it's a lot more relational. It's a lot more connections and referrals and, work with one organization and see dramatic effects. And so he calls his buddy that's a VP at a different company that, hey, you need to call these guys. So
the trust that you guys must have to cultivate with leadership in the beginning to get the business and then in executing on the work, right? Because you're never going to get in if you don't cultivate that trust.
And that's one of the things that sets us apart a little bit too, is there's a lot of organizations, whether it's, consulting agencies or team building firms or coaching companies or whatever that get a little lost in one end or the other. And so they either get lost in the goals results end it's just too business-like and it's just too sterile in a sense. And it's just, here's all your data and here's all your numbers and fix this and fix that. And that's it. And go home and, do it or don't do it. And we tend to have a little bit more fun with it than that. And we're not quite as corporate, even though we work with a lot of corporate companies, but some people get lost on the other end and it's just all about, we just want everybody to feel better. And they lose sight of the goals and results and why we're actually there. And so that's one of the things that we stay very conscious of is making sure that we're connecting both of those. If you've got to take care of your people to make sure that they're in a good spot, that they're healthy, that they're mentally firing on all cylinders, that they're not overly stressed, that they're not overly fearful. And we have to take care of the people, but it's to get to the result and the output of what you actually want. And keeping the focus on both of those, of the people and the output at the same time.
Boy, that's a lot to hold.
It is.
That's a tall order.
It is.
But let's talk a little bit about event and process, right? Because in my experience, and I'm getting a little long in the tooth, I've been on the periphery of some of this kind of work over the years. Are there some things that leadership should be taking some responsibility and accountability for to fully maximize the fact that we've had Justin and his crew in here to help us? Are there some things we should be doing before you get here, some things we should be doing after the event is over or summer workshop, so that we really get the full measure of the return that we're after? I sense the answer is yes, but I just want to hear more about what that might look like.
What that looks like. And that's one of the things that we strive for too, is the front end and the back end. And, because some people do, they just walk in on the day of the event and I'm here for 3 hours and we did our workshop and I'm walking away and, I'm a good soldier. I'm not going to get anybody in trouble. I'm here. I'm doing my thing, but I got work piling up. Right.
But, you get that right.
And one of the things that's helped us over the years though, is leaders helping cultivate the mindset that coaching and people like us in our profession aren't just there when somebody's in trouble. Because that's something we run into a little bit too of, we called a team building or a team development guy in. What do we do? Who screwed up? Everybody's looking around like, okay, who's on the chopping block now? And it goes back to what I said earlier. That's rarely why we come in. We're coming in because you're doing big things. And we like working with companies that are doing big things too. It's not people that they just want to sell, 100,000 more widgets this month. It's people that are having an impact, that are, affecting. We work with a lot of people in the, kind of scientific healthcare space that are developing, biometric devices to help people function better and building prosthetics and some of those kind of things that real world, like this is impacting lives to a great degree. And so for that lead up of what can leaders do at the beginning, it's fostering that environment that coaching isn't for people that are in trouble. Bringing in a coach like us to do a workshop isn't because we've all screwed up, but that's what the best of the best do. And it's reframing that a little bit that, just because we're good at what we do doesn't mean we need to just stop here. And then on the back end is stuff that we help with of what does that need to look like? Do we need to hold your hand, or do you just need to give you a template of, okay, here's what we talked about. Here's what needs to happen. Here's what's going to give you the most bang for your buck. And you focus on these one or two things. How can we help with that? can we facilitate that process on the back end and keep having conversations and have a coaching call with your folks every 2 weeks for the next 3 months and those types of things. And that depends on the company and the organization and what they're really looking to get out of it. Mm-hmm. But we're very intentional about, we are not just come in, swoop in, chat with you for a day. Here's all the stuff to fix now. Good luck with that. And so having that relationship is always important for us.
Now, you are a keynote speaker as well, or at least have been. Do you continue to do that, or will you continue to do the speaking work, or you've got to focus 100% on this other?
So one of the reasons I stopped doing a little bit of it is last year was kind of a weird year. If you don't realize, right?
Only a little bit.
Only a little bit. And so some of whether it's keynote speaking or even in-person workshops, obviously that just stopped last March or April or whatever it was. And so, I still enjoy doing keynote speaking and still do that. I like being able to do both, which is why I like my role. I like being able to, one day I'm doing a 3-hour workshop with a company. The next day I'm doing a 45-minute keynote. The next day I've got a full slate of coaching calls that I'm doing from home. But keynote speaking is a great way to bring awareness to what we do. And not just what we do, but helping people be better individuals within teams and helping leaders be better leaders. And so it's a great way to build awareness around our processes and around our principles and the way we do things. But where people struggle with keynote speaking is you walk in, you do your keynote speech and you walk away. Right. And so you don't get that depth and you don't get that interaction. And to see success, it tends to be 20% insight and about 80% application. Keynote speaking is great for the 20% insight. It's great for giving people awareness of even some of the stuff we've talked about so far this morning is, here's some things to think about. And people, I never really thought about that before. Oh, this really could work. And it's great for that. But then we need the coaching engagements and the ongoing workshop series and things like that to really be able to provide the application for what needs to happen. And so I still... again, it's been slow on the speaking side, but it's already starting to pick back up. And so it's definitely something I'll
still do some of that. I'll
still do some of that.
Now, you strike me as the kind of guy who, I don't know if the word keynote is still the right word, but I'm going to use it. You might be doing a keynote at a middle school too, just to help some kids, right? You have an affinity for and some genuine interest in serving the community, the broader community, don't you? Talk a little bit about that.
I do. We don't spend quite as much time in schools lately. And some of that's a little bit of just our niche, and there's only so many hours in a day. And so I definitely, and again, with my education background, I've spoken to schools, I've spoken to, high school groups and things like that. One of the first things I actually did with leadership development was about a decade ago with my wife. We led a teen leadership development program in Atlanta for several years with a nonprofit she was working with. And so I definitely have a heart for that. I don't do quite as much of the school speaking anymore. Again, just because keynote speaking, especially, you kind of find your lane and your niche, and there's not always as much overlap as people think. And so it's still out there, but it's just not, you have to focus on one or the other to a certain degree. Sure. And most schools, there's some really good education speakers out there, and there's some really good people that really is their life. That is what they do, and that's their passion. And I'd support them any way that I can. And again, love of still speaking with youth, but it just, there's not quite enough hours in the day to do a lot of it these days.
I'll bet. I was just thinking to myself, I would have butterflies if I were to get on the stage and do a keynote for Microsoft or Google or something, but I would be absolutely terrified if I had to get on stage and talk to a group of high school kids. Right?
Oh, that's one of the things that I tell people all the time. Yeah, what I do now and the people that I work with now, it is way easier than middle schoolers. I mean, I don't get cussed out nearly as much. I don't get challenged to fight nearly as much. So it's definitely a lot easier.
So as you do turn some of your energy and attention toward the community, the broader community, nonprofits, those kinds of things, are there some that kind of have a bigger piece of your heart than, or more of your time than others? Is there a group that you like to?
That's a tough question because, we do work with so many. So I don't know if there's just one. I do appreciate local communities and nonprofits, though. And I've lived in Cherokee County off and on most of my life. We moved really far away for a while to Marietta, which is Kennesaw, which is not that far, but we've been back here in Cherokee County for about 4 years, and
Right.
whether it's Goshen Valley Boys Home up in North Cherokee and groups that are working here, the Circle of Friends that has a new coffee shop that just opened up over the circuit, and what Paige Reed is doing with Limitless, and there's just so many good nonprofits and people that are just doing really cool things in the community here. It's definitely hard to pick just one.
I'll bet. Well, no, you're the kind of guy that's probably plugged into several and trying to serve them. And you have some tools and some knowledge and expertise at your disposal that you can utilize to help them. So before we wrap, where's your energy effort going to be in the coming months? You got anything, a particular area of focus? Are you guys trying to grow? What's the
We're always trying to grow, but grow strategically. And it's been the next, I guess, 3 months or so, our biggest focus is just diving in deeper to the deeper programs that we offer. We've developed an entire suite of more leadership strategic work sessions that we're going to be offering and rolling out in the next month or so. And it really just is our focus of spending more time on the development side than the camaraderie side. Cause that is a continuum. There's on one hand, doing something where it just gets people together and it's a scavenger hunt or a game room or a game show or something like that, where everybody's just kind of getting together and having a good time and laughing and smiling and learning people's names that they haven't seen in a while. That kind of thing is great. And there's a place for that. We've done a lot of that over the years. And especially over the next 3 months, our focus is going somewhat to the other end of the spectrum of now let's get deep. Now it's you built a pretty good culture from everybody smiles and, there's nobody slashing tires in the parking lot or anything like that. So we're doing okay. But now how do we really get better? And so that's probably our biggest focus for the next 3 months is spending more time on the deeper programs of let's spend 6 months with your leadership team. Let's spend a year with your leadership team.
Okay. Really truly a deeper dive. Or let's not just do a workshop, but let's do a 4 seminar series where we're going to come back once a month for the next 4 months and really dive into some of these deeper things instead of just coming and putting a bunch of stuff in front of you of here, good luck with this and walking out. So that's definitely our focus for the next 3 months is getting deeper with the folks that we're working with. You touched on a phrase, and I don't remember if it was in that presentation or if you and I were just kind of standing around or what, but the phrase that you utilized was high character culture. Is that if you're really going to pull that off, is that where you got to do this deeper work? Is that one of the
Absolutely.
So to talk a little bit about what you mean by that and
one of the most crucial things that people can do within any team, organization, whatever, whether it's a corporate leadership board or a family unit, one of the most important things you can do is have people that are ethical and that tell the truth and be honest. Honesty goes so far. And so when you talk about a high character culture, that's one of the first tenets of high character is being honest. And it doesn't have to be honest in a jerk kind of way of I'm just going to tell you everything.
Your hair looks
wrong,
awful.
Right? Oh man, you gained a lot of weight lately. So that's not necessarily what we mean, but being able to have those very real, very open, very honest conversations about what's going on and what can we do to get better. And so high character cultures are ones that place that at the forefront of let's have a very real conversation, not just to nitpick, not just to be a jerk about it, not just to, throw stones and call people names and all that, but let's talk about it. What's working? What's not working? What do we need to do more of? What do we need to do less of? And again, that goes for everything. So family units to corporate boardrooms, it's all the same, that having people that are willing to be honest, tell the truth and be a little less fearful, be a little less stressed. That's the starting point for everybody.
It sounds like a lot of work. It's obviously very rewarding work. Please keep up the good work. I can't thank you enough for coming in and visiting with us. If someone would like to reach out and have a conversation with you or someone on your team, let's give them some points of contact, whatever you think is appropriate, phone, email, LinkedIn, whatever you think is best.
Yeah, definitely. My email is a great place to start, justin@atlantachallenge.com. AtlantaChallenge.com is our website, so you can get a lot of info there. You'll see me around on LinkedIn and Facebook and some of those places too. But yeah, probably email Justin@atlantachallenge.com or just go to our website and you can get a lot more info on all the programs that we offer and the workshops and that sort of thing. So
what a delight having you come in the studio this morning.
This has been so much fun.
Yeah.
So much fun.
Hey, how about hanging out with us while we visit with our next guest?
Absolutely. I can't wait to hear more about them.
All right. Next up on Cherokee Business Radio, we have with us with Visually Sold, Alex and Evan Roberts. Good morning, gang.
Good morning.
Well, we're delighted to have you. We'll start with you, Alex. Mission, purpose, Visually Sold. What you doing for folks?
So our mission is to provide the simplest solution for real estate photography. We just want to be ready and available for any real estate agent, really, to just book excellent photos so that they can impress their clients and impress potential buyers.
I would think that is probably one of the most important parts of the sales and marketing process for a home is the pictures that people see before they even make the decision to go out and take a look, right?
Absolutely. So more and more lately, buyers are basing their choices online based on the photos. So I think it's like 85% of home buyers make a decision to go see a home based on its pictures. So
wow.
You would think a lot of people don't use cell phone pictures, but unfortunately they do. So
really?
Yes, our mission is to just kind of be accessible so that people are deterred from using cell phone pictures.
So yeah, go ahead.
To jump off of that, I think the way to look at it is a home is the most expensive thing that somebody will buy or sell in their lifetime. And Coca-Cola spends millions of dollars to sell a Coca can or a can of Coke.
Right.
So to have, that a excellent visual representation of the most important asset that you may buy in your lifetime, I think is really important and more so now.
So you guys are taking still pictures, video, or both?
Yes. Yeah. Both.
Wow.
All of the above.
All of the above.
So you could, if you have those skills, and I'm making the jump that you do, I'm sure that you do, and I can't wait to go see more of your work. You could have chosen a lot of different ways to apply those skills, meet a variety of different segments of the market, and probably build a very fruitful business. You chose to niche. You chose to stay in this lane. Tell me a little bit about that choice.
Yeah. So I started the company a little over 5 years ago. I originally was doing, live music photography because I was a musician in my teenage years. And that was sort of a natural progression for me. And when I was managing a pizza shop in Cumming, and when I was doing that on my breaks and everything, I would be looking at houses online, sort of just dreaming because I couldn't afford a house, but I wanted to. So, I would look on there and I would dream and I would, wow, this one's great. And way too often, I would notice that I couldn't see enough of the home, or I couldn't get a feel for what the home actually looks like, because of the photos. And if I was actually buying, it would have really mattered because,
right.
I typically would just skip the ones that didn't have great photos. So I noticed that some did have great photos. So I said, okay, there seems to be a market here. Like there seems to be, some people want excellent photos for their listings. So that's how I sort of got into it. I said, maybe I could do this. I did some research, on, what I needed for equipment. And then I sort of snowballed from there.
So taking these pictures, what is the key? Is it better equipment? Is it the knowledge? Because people are going to expect the same level of professionalism on their job as they saw on the last one. What's that? How did you crack this code? What's the secret sauce?
So I think, obviously, cell phones take great photos right now. So it's
not mine so much. I've been trying to take them while I've been having this conversation.
Don't say that.
So they do take great photos. So it's not a matter of purely the equipment, right? Obviously, right. Having professional grade equipment matters a whole lot. So it's not just the equipment. It really is the eye. It's the training. It's the technique that's used. Real estate photography is completely different from really any other kind of photography.
Oh, really?
It really is. It's not, it could be similar to maybe product photography.
Right.
But even still, it's the angle choices that you're getting, the lighting, because it's a space where people live. It's a space where you're trying to convey a feeling, of where people live their lives and will will live their lives. So it's a little different than anything else.
All right. So here's a disclaimer. We're broadcasting live as we speak right now, but a great many of our consumers, the people who listen to our material, listen to it on demand. If you're listening to this on demand and you're looking at some pictures, Evan and Alex did not take those. Stone took those pictures. So where does the business come from? Is it the individual, the family selling the home, or is your business really coming from the trusted realtors in this ecosystem?
It's a little of both.
Really?
So obviously a homeowner can book a shoot with us if they need to, because we want to be accessible to that. And we understand that for a homeowner, selling a home is really difficult. It's a lot to take in. You know, you're leaving a place with a bunch of memories. So part of our goal is to be easy and accessible to homeowners so that when they're booking with us, you've got someone who has a comprehensive understanding of how to make this easier for you. All you have to do is go on, book a shoot, you're done. We show up, we take care of everything else. It's one less thing for you to worry about. And of course, you know, real estate agents as well, whether they're an individual real estate agent just booking one off, or they're a brokerage that we've partnered with. So it's really just... Oh,
that's smart. So you guys have partnered with entire brokerage? Wow, that's cool.
Yeah. So really, it's just anyone that needs real estate photos, they can just hop on and book a shoot.
So, and something in this whole ecosystem, right? Like there's the stagers. So this is kind of fresh in my mind, right? Because, and it's a little, for those of you who are listening on demand, and, you know, sometimes people listen to our stuff 5 years later. But I mean, we're in the throes of like summer of 2021 as we're having this conversation. The real estate market here, at least locally, is nuts.
Insane.
We got into this home a little bit before it got crazy. And we sold ours a little bit before it went really nuts, but we never had to show the house. We had a stager come in. They took some pictures, circulated them in that, kind of like, coming soon circle of realtors, never went out on the market. One family came in, made a full price offer, you know, and we were out there like the blackjack dealer, right? And I'm almost certain having the stager there to set things up, declutter, I'm sure that had a big impact on it. And was, but what I'm getting at is the people that you need to build relationships with or choose to build relationships with. These are a variety of people in this real estate ecosystem. Yes. The stager, the real estate person, I mean, maybe anyone connected to that, because you never know who knows who, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm sure plenty of real estate agents would agree with this, but referrals are the lifeblood in the real estate industry. And that's, right. I think, one of our favorite parts about being in the real estate industry is it's such a relationship focused business. You know, I've grown up in real estate. My mom's been a real estate agent for probably like 23, 26 years now. And something I always noticed was she just always went the extra mile to build that relationship with someone so that they knew she was someone they could count on. I remember being in the store with her one day and she was picking out like a baby outfit. I was like, what are you doing? All your kids are grown up. And she was like, well, my client just had a new baby. So I just wanted to pick something up for them. And that was just always so neat to me, was that it was such a kind relationship focused business for sure.
Well, again, we just kind of, my wife Holly and I kind of lived through this. A lady by the name of Jill Heineck, who's with Keller Williams Realty. She's also a client out of a different studio, but she's one of our clients. I'm going to get a chance to visit with her later today. I mean, we just trust her implicitly, right? And she was sort of the quarterback of the team. Like, I could have gone out. I'm kind of in the business community, in several business communities actually, and sourced a mortgage broker and sourced, you know, different things. But I just trusted Jill. I felt like she's got the relationship. People are going to go above and beyond for her and for a Jill Heineck client, you know, more so than someone I just might reach out to. That was incredibly important to us. The other part of it was almost like you know, like when you go to the emergency room, the doctor doesn't ask you if you want to stay over for observation. He says, okay, you check in, you're going to stay overnight for observation. We're going to do testing. You know, they just, I mean, whenever Jill, I mean, I just trusted her. So she said, okay, look, here's how it's going to work. We're going to have a stager in here on Thursday. We're going to get some photos, you know, right. And I never even questioned it. Right. And so that's the beauty of doing good work. All right. So I got to ask, you guys are a married couple.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. A young married couple, or at least in contrast to me and the other guests. I'm a little older than the rest of the folks in the studio today. But that's got to present its own set of dynamics. Right? Tell us a little. Okay, Evan's going to talk. Bless your heart, Evan. Go for it, buddy.
Yeah, I think it absolutely does. We actually met because of this company. She worked for one of our clients, and she would book the photos shoots from us. And so we had contact with her, and then our two companies had a happy hour event, and that's where we met.
Boom.
And now she works for us.
He poached me.
So yeah, I mean, it definitely does present its, interesting dynamics, and it's definitely been a unique experience. And, we've been married for a little over a year now. So it's really, challenging and fun and amazing to sort of work through certain things together and get to, know each other differently than maybe other couples would, because we're also trying to grow a business together while we're trying to develop a marriage, and a family. So, it's definitely interesting.
Well done. You could run for office. All right. Let's get to truth over here.
Thank you.
No, have you settled into, a division of labor, and this is our roles, or you're still kind of figuring that piece of it out?
I think as a business, we're still growing. So just kind of our roles continue to grow and expand. I'm in charge of our marketing, but at the same time, I'm also trying to help plan company events so that we can all get together. I'm covering the phone sometimes for my sister-in-law, who's our head of operations. So it's a lot of different roles, and we're just constantly growing in them. Yeah,
I think the pandemic obviously affected everybody. I hear people say that all the time. It's like, okay, yes, obviously. But it really did impact our culture a lot. And so it's really trying to almost rebuild that culture now. And Alex has been, really pivotal in that. Like, she's really been pushing forward to try to rebuild those relationships. So it's really interesting to hear Justin talk about what he does. It's kind of serendipitous almost that you're here.
I'm ready for a workshop with Justin.
Let's go. That's what I'm thinking.
That's what I'm
thinking. And I really, by the way, side note, I love what you said about it's not taking bad, to good. It's really like Jim Collins, good to great, and I'm sure that book probably plays a huge role in what you do. I would hope so, because it's a great book.
He's never heard of it.
So
that is one book that I've heard of.
I'm sure. So yeah, and I think that's been a huge part of it right now, especially recently, is that.
So, but this is the mindset. These are the type of people, and I don't know, maybe this firm is a little small at this point for you. I don't know about that, but the mindset of these guys are doing good. They want to do better. They do check that box on your criteria, right, Justin?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what we're seeing, even just in this little, these last couple minutes, is the power of having people in leadership that see the value of taking care of their people and the connection that has to you guys seeing success as a company. That's the magic right there, is leaders that see that yes, it's important to take care of our people, but it's important to grow as a company. And those are connected.
Right.
Especially so, because our team members are the ones that are going out and doing shoots every day. It's not Evan sometimes, but it's not me, because I can't use a camera. But I mean, the amount of times we get people calling in who are saying like, oh, my shoot wasn't booked with Samantha. Like, could it be booked with Samantha? She's just so good. She knows exactly what I need. I can always count on her. Like, when we get that kind of feedback about our photographers, it is just doubly so important to take care of our team, because they're the ones who go out and represent us every day, and they do such a good job doing so. Like, our clients are crazy about our photographers.
Yeah.
So, and I'm going to ask you too, if appropriate, Justin, you have something to say on the matter. I mean, how do you recruit, develop, and continue to nurture someone, a Samantha, right? I mean, we have a Samantha too. She runs Phoenix Business Radio out in Phoenix, Arizona, and her name is Karen Nowicki, and she's unbelievable. She's incredible. And it wasn't anything I did. I don't think maybe I didn't run her off, but other than that, are there some do's and some don'ts, always do this, don't do that, or at least I don't know.
So just to clarify, so you're asking about the actual recruiting and interviewing and finding the right people.
I want the whole workshop right now, Evan.
Yeah.
Yes. And now, well, like for Karen, like what should I be doing for Karen today? You know, like, because I feel like sometimes I don't do enough to let a Karen know how.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think before pre-pandemic, we were a team of 33, and we were in multiple states, and so we're fairly large for what I've experienced. What we found was really important was being able to take in real time almost feedback from our people, and being able to be lean and to be able to change with that feedback. So take into account what the team is saying, what the people are saying who are actually, doing, meeting the clients and really doing a lot of the groundwork for that. And being able to adapt that. So we had something we call, and we haven't done it in a while because of the pandemic, but we called Brew and Review. And it was basically a monthly meeting where the whole team was invited, and we'd go around and we'd ask questions. We'd say, okay, here's how the company's doing. And it doesn't matter what position you held in the company. We want to hear from everybody, basically. So we would have this monthly sort of meeting to make sure that we're meeting everybody's needs, and really trying to develop them as much as they want to be developed.
I like it. Now, is this because you're so well read, or would you say maybe Justin a little wise beyond his years here?
Absolutely.
Are you just that well read, or do you just look young?
Reading comprehensions was one of the things I struggled with most in school. So it's definitely not
that.
He listens a lot. He listens to a lot of podcasts and books and stuff. I don't know. Yeah. He doesn't read a lot.
And he listens to his people, apparently. No, genuinely listen. So this is very tactical, but I mean, I've run into this. I'm not a professional coach, but I find myself sometimes wearing a coach hat with our studio partners and that kind of thing. When people do give you feedback and input, sometimes they have creative new ideas. And for whatever reason, maybe because of my lack of foresight or because it's really not the right time to make that move, we're not going to implement that idea. But I don't want to shut that down. Like if Evan came up with that idea, I want him to feel good about coming up with the idea, and I don't want him to not come up with an idea next time we get together. Is there some mojo that we can use on that? Any of the three of you that'll help?
Yeah,
not shut them down.
I definitely have something on that because it's true, and there are some people that all it takes is you telling them that their idea is awesome. And they're like, yeah, it is. And then they walk away. We can't do it right now. Okay. But at least they thought it was awesome. And so there is some validity to that.
Okay.
And I'm kind of that way too. And Sean Clark, the founder of Atlanta Challenge, that he and I are working together all the time. And we're both similar in that regard of like, sometimes it's just, yes, that is an awesome idea. Doesn't fit for right now. But for us, the benchmark is, that's why it's so important to have clearly defined goals, and not just big overall, 5-year goals or whatever, but like, what is the focus right now? And so that way, if an idea is awesome, but it doesn't line up with what the current focus and, defined vision and goal is for what you're trying to accomplish now, it gives a clarity to the reason of why we can't do it now. Because if that's not defined, then it's just, we can't do it now. Well, why? Do you just not like it? Do you just not like me? Does it like what? Right. Like what? It can go off the rails fast. So being able to say, yeah, that's a great idea. Either maybe we tweak it or we use it for this, or maybe we shelve it and we do it later. But having clearly defined, this is what we're focusing on right now, gives a reason for why we maybe can't do that idea right now.
Got it. No, that's helpful. I'm glad, because I'm kind of getting inspired and sort of invigorated here a little bit. I want to go back and try to apply some of these ideas. So do you guys have the bandwidth? And if so, do you want to meet more realtors, like bring more realtors into your circle, or have you got enough already? Leave us alone.
Oh my gosh, never enough.
Never enough.
But that's a group. The realtors are the folks that.
Absolutely. I mean, we could never stop growing. The goal is world domination. We want to make sure everybody has consistently beautiful and excellent real estate photos. So, I mean, never enough. It's just a matter of hiring more people if we need to, but we want everyone to feel trusted in a vendor that they can come to and know that they can book a shoot very easily, and that everyone who's working with them knows exactly what they're doing and knows how to provide extra help if needed.
Yeah. I've done just to sort of tag off of that. I've done my research on other companies that do this. And I have to say, without a doubt, we have the simplest way to book a photo shoot if you're a real estate agent or a homeowner. We get the absolute necessary information that we need to be able to come out there, right. But it's also real time booking. All of our photographers are actually, team members. They're not just contracted out, and we give them all the equipment to do the job. So all of the photo shoots are going to look the same, right? Nice. And if something breaks, we know exactly what to replace it with, and they don't have to worry about putting wear and tear on their equipment. So because of that, we have a real-time booking. So if you see Friday at 2:00 is available on the website, you click book, that's when we're going to show up. Nice. So it's things like that. I think that's going to, lend really well to that. What Alex said, world domination. That
honestly used to be the worst thing as someone who had to book photo shoots, like not being able to just see a real-time availability and lock it in. It would be like, okay, well, I have to call the contact, and now I've called the contact and they have to call and see who's available. Okay, they have to call and see who's available. They don't have that day that you requested, but they have another day. Would you want to do that day? Okay, well, now let me call the client because I need to see if the client can do that. Okay, let me call the guy again. Oh, sorry, we ran out of that time. Someone else booked. Can you do this day instead? Just constant back and forth. And it is so stressful. And especially for real estate agents, or if they have someone who's helping them book shoots, that's a lot to ask of them. That's a lot that's taking up their bandwidth. That's a lot of calls to make. You really should just be able to go and be like, okay, I want Friday at 2:00, locked in, done.
Yeah. And we've even built, private booking pages for larger brokerages that book all of the photo shoots. That way they can send it to the homeowner and say, look, choose a date and time that works for you, and book the photo shoot. And so the brokerage or the agent doesn't even have to do the booking. I think that the simplicity of the booking system is really what our sort of competitive advantage is.
That is really interesting because, and you have the advantage of you do the good work that you've done is published. People can see it. Mm-hmm. And so they see the quality of it. And then the ease of the booking though is the real secret sauce so far.
That's how we get you.
Definitely. I see so many different websites with like a few, samples, maybe 5 to 10 different pictures of the best of the best of the best pictures that they've taken. So that's one thing that I wanted to do differently was on our website. I'm like, let's put, tens and tens and tens and maybe hundreds of different samples of our work because just to, sort of prove the point, like this is consistent. This is what you're going to get when you book.
So does the sale, I don't even know if that's the right word, does the relationship often start through that website interaction, or do you find yourself trying to have an initial conversation with a realtor that you don't know?
You can, absolutely. We, of course, go through, Google ads and Instagram and Facebook, and people can just search us and start on the website. But more often than not, we just get referrals from a lot of agents. And that is honestly the highest praise for us is when, it's cool. Like, oh, cool. Someone came in from Instagram. That's neat. But like when someone's calling in and saying like, oh, well, so-and-so recommended you and they just gave you such high praise. I need a photographer. So I figured I'd give you guys a shot. That's honestly the most gratifying thing for us.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the website is definitely crucial, right? Because so many real estate agents especially are out and about all the time. So they either need to have something really accessible and really quick to be able to access, or they need to have, somebody to call like right away as soon as they can because they're in the car or whatever. So, having somebody to answer the phone as soon as you call, somebody that knows you, somebody you've talked to before. And really that could even be the same person on the website live chat. It could be, it's really somebody here, that's local, that knows you, that knows your colleagues. So yeah, I think that's crucial too.
So before we wrap, let's see if we can't help out some young aspiring entrepreneurs. Maybe they have like a regular job right now and they're thinking, I'm going to take a shot at this. I'm going to pursue setting up a business. I got to go get some customers. I got to think through the culture I'm trying to build. And actually I'd like both of you maybe to take a swing at with an idea or two. And I'll start with you, Alex, if we could just, I don't know, any counsel you might have, something to be thinking about, some do's, some don'ts, because I think our listeners would really profit from the experience. I was going to say scar tissue. I don't know.
That's fair.
Maybe it's fun. But yeah, anything you might offer that new aspiring entrepreneurs, they think about making this move.
Yeah. I was very blessed to not have to take the plunge like Evan did. He was already, 4 or 5 years in before I came on. So, and I didn't have to do anything quite as dramatic as, quitting my job and starting something from the ground up. But I would say anyone looking to do that, I would say listen to Dave Ramsey. I know that was a big stepping stone for Evan, was just constantly listening to Dave Ramsey. And I would say find a mentor, someone who can coach you and kind of understand what you're going through when you come up with a hardship or encounter a roadblock. Just find someone who's willing to coach you and who understands what you're going through and can provide counsel that's something other than, just pick yourself up. It'll be okay as long as you stick to it. Someone who can give you very concrete advice.
Fantastic. Evan?
I would say I want to sort of reiterate what Justin said earlier about the 20% knowing and learning and 80% doing. I would say when you're starting out, it's like 99% doing, because so many people have a hard time just taking the first step and just doing the initial, let me set something up. Let me actually try to get that first $1 of sale. Let me just try to make $1 from what you want to try to do, right? Just do it, just start. And once you start, that's where it, you never know where it's going to go from there. So I would say, as far as like advice goes, and learning from, my mistakes, is do not hire too fast. That is a very, very common mistake. And that's actually something that, I called into Dave Ramsey, and he told me when I was first starting the business, and I know I'm speaking about one of your competitions here, so I'm also call Cherokee Business Radio. So, but he told me, he's like, be very careful about payroll, because that's what kills so many businesses is payroll. Yeah. And I did make that mistake, and I hired like I said, we were a team of over 30 people, and I liked having people. I liked having people in the office and talking to people and interacting and having a great environment. And that's something that will, once you do take that first step later down the road, will be very important to do. So try to be as lean as possible in the beginning.
I am so glad that I asked. And for the record, I am a huge Dave Ramsey, not even just fan, disciple. I'm 57 years old now. My wife's going to retire in a year. We've been very blessed and we've made a comfortable living for some time. We still live out of envelopes. We have cash envelopes in our bureau.
That's amazing.
And that's awesome. And I think that's one of the reasons. And that came from him. Mm-hmm. And I know I'm a huge fan. So I don't consider him competition at all. I think the work that gentleman is doing is just marvelous. Well, this has been fantastic. I know realtors who do hear this interview are going to want to talk to you guys. What's the best way for them to connect with you?
I would say anyway, you can always go on our website. We've got live chat. We've got a phone number to call if you're into calling. We have our email, which is contact@visuallysold.com, or you can chat with us on social media websites like Facebook and Instagram. We're pretty available. We love answering questions and talking to people.
I would say we've made it a point to try to make it as informative as possible to just visit the website. You'll have everything that you need there. So the website is visuallysold.com. And you can really go start from there, or follow us on social media, Visually Sold.
Well, thank you both for coming in the studio and hanging out with us. And, maybe let's do this again. Maybe you guys come back sometime and check in with us. One idea that could be fun if you're up for it, maybe a local realtor client come in, we'll spotlight their business, but maybe talk about the relationship.
We'd love that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
That could be a fun segment. All right. Well, this has been marvelous. Thank you both.
Thank you.
All right. Until next time, this is Stone Payton for our guest this morning and everyone here at the Business RadioX family saying we'll see you next time on Cherokee Business Radio.